Hi guys, Jamie here with something a little bit different to normal. Fortunately, I'm struggling with some tech issues at the minute, so normal streaming racing stuff is sort of taking a little bit of a backseat right now. But we'll take a look at what we've got upcoming for 2026 Season 2 here on iRacing. Quite a few things to sort of talk about and discuss and get your guys' thoughts and opinions on it as well. So I'll just jump straight in with what iRacing are sort of looking to do over the next season for the new build, what is and isn't coming, and I guess what my thoughts and feelings are on it. So first thing that they've got in the dev update here is special events recap. Something that probably doesn't get mentioned as much now is the fact that the big special events run pretty smoothly these days. We're not too worried about having massive issues in terms of too many people signing up and servers not being able to handle it and races not going live and stuff like that. It's all been pretty smooth sailing recently, so I remember sort of the early days of the big team special events and that they weren't that reliable, but yeah, iRacing have done a pretty good job on that over the last few years. The big sort of initial introductions, we've got one major new track, which is St. Petersburg in Florida, which IndyCar go to as their season opener each year. At least most recently, I don't know when they started doing that, but that's been the kickoff point for IndyCar. It's good that we've got that on the service. Where it probably stacks up in terms of popularity or what's most likely to run at it. So obviously, it's good to have it on the IndyCar schedule, and whenever the IndyCar Pro Series sort of rolls around again, most likely next year, I would say, because the season is just concluded with Luke McKeown picking up the championship there. This will probably then get itself onto the schedule there. In terms of what it's going to be used for in iRacing or where it sort of fits, I reckon it'll be something similar to like an Adelaide, Belle Isle sort of level of popularity. You do have an opportunity to overtake into T1, but in general, like with most of the street circuits, it's fairly narrow, fairly tight. Not massive amounts of opportunity to overtake. In something like a Mazda, which did race here as well, it should be good fun. But that being said, the Mazdas or the lower powered cars are all pretty good around most circuits, where you can sort of have a bash, have an overtake. So it's good that they're introducing it. Shows that the relationship with iRacing and IndyCar is still pretty strong. But where it stacks up in terms of popularity, it's not going to be like a Spa or a Watkins Glen or a Daytona, for example, in terms of popularity on the road side of things. But hopefully it's not unpopular, and hopefully it's a fun drive as well. So like nothing weird in terms of like slowdowns or weird track limits or curbs sort of like throwing you into walls and stuff like that. Hopefully it's a fun and entertaining drive that way. Moving on to Barber Motorsports Park, which obviously has been in the service for ever, basically. It's finally getting a refresh and a rescan as well, so that's a full repave, smoother, grippier racing surface, updated runoffs, and various facility improvements. I'd like to see what I think I can spot here is an update into curb profiles as well, so that they're a little bit more intuitive, shall we say. So the curb profile that we have at the moment, with the big sort of slabs almost of curving, the white slabs, awkward to get on and off those curves. So hopefully those have changed and updated, which it does look that way. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I last drove it somewhat recently for GT America series, the regionals. The track does look quite old and tired now at this point, so I think this is a much needed refresh for a track that I've always enjoyed driving, and I think my overall best ever result in PES was this circuit, the very first season, the very first race ever actually in the Porsche Sport Super Cup was around Barber. So I have fond memories of the place, and it'll be good to see it updated. In terms of other things, just in terms of what you need to know about it, they're not building the short config, and if you already own the track, then it will sort of automatically update. It's not like you need to buy the circuit again. I think that's pretty consistent with rescans of tracks, that you don't need to purchase it again, and the original circuit gets retired and won't be used any further. The last one that sort of matters to me is going to be the 3D curbs at Red Bull Ring. A minor alteration, but certainly, you know, iRacing are moving more in the direction of the 3D curbs, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of, do we have to drive the track any differently? Are we then not taking like the exit curb of T3, it is the uphill hairpin? Because what we notice at tracks like Spa, for example, out of the bus stop chicane and out of La Source as well, where we're very hesitant to use exit curbing, or just the, you know, try and get the traction applied, or sorry, you know, we struggle to get traction on the 3D curbing. So whether we're going to actively avoid that or not, you know, remains to be seen. But yeah, we've got some art updates for Long Beach and Sebring. And Sebring, we've got the 12R coming up pretty soon here, so that'll, you know, look good, I'm sure, on the broadcast for everyone. Moving on to the cars then, and what we've got going on there. So we've got sort of your annual updates on the NASCAR Cup Series for the Camaro. So looks good, looks like a NASCAR Cup car to me. Doesn't matter a massive amount to me as someone who hasn't run an oval in 6 years maybe now. So yeah, but you know, NASCAR and iRacing obviously have got that tight relationship, so it's natural that they've got that on board. And for the first time ever, I'm pretty sure we've got a Dodge Ram for the truck. So that's the 4th manufacturer there. And again, I think that probably just sort of shows the, you know, iRacing's relationship with NASCAR is still pretty much as strong as it's ever been. The big one though, in terms of something actually new on the car side of things, is the Gen 2 RS3 Audi TCR. So the first gen was the first of the TCR's first touring car, at least the, you know, of this sort of generation. So moving away from the Kia Optima and through into then the TCR class. So, you know, it'd be a shame to see that car go. Small side note, I was the first official series winner of what was then the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the Audi TCR. So it's nice to be the first at something. So it'll be interesting to see how the Gen 2 sort of stacks up. There are sort of big updates as well here with the TCR class as a whole, in terms of tire tech, both dry and wet tires. Sort of a broad sort of equalization across the board in terms of mass, inertias, shifting, or shift lights, a redesigned braking system there as well. So it is all going to be quite different. Yeah, big handling change there, where they're stating more consistent car behavior through entry, mid, and exit, alongside significantly reduced pitch sensitivity. So does that mean that cars are just sort of sat on a bit more of a stable platform, and they don't move around as much, and, you know, under braking it's less sort of throwing the car too far onto the nose and having the back end feel really, really light? Obviously, I'll get driving it at some point, but at the minute that's, you know, I don't have access to like early access builds or anything like that to give you guys any sort of insight. But my thinking is that the cars will probably just feel more solid and connected to the road. That's what they're trying to achieve. Whether they actually achieve that or not, obviously remains to be seen. I think I'm gonna say remains to be seen quite a bit in this video. So apologies on that one. But yeah, big updates in the TCR. Is it going to mean that more people are going to drive TCR? Probably not. I feel like the people who don't drive TCR. It's because they just don't really like front-wheel drive racing, and it's not their bag, it's not their thing. Not really because that the cars are that busted to drive. So we'll see if it makes a massive difference in terms of popularity. I'll probably give it a quick spin just to see how it is, but I'm not expecting like this huge overhaul to mean that we all stop driving, you know, GT3s, and you know, if the Formula stuff is your kind of bag, it's not going to drag you over from there to this. But it's good that they're, you know, still pushing things in hopefully the right direction, and yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a try. GTA is a really interesting one. So we've not had a major GT update in a really long time, probably not since the GTs were pulled out of IMSA a few years back, and it is quite a few years ago now that the GTDs/GT3s got pulled into that series. So the cars are finally getting wet weather tires, and they're getting next-gen slicks, which means probably updated to the most recent tire model. Now, what I don't know is, and I'm actually really interested to know about this, is are the GTEs going to be on a newer version of the model versus the GT3s, or is it truly in line with the latest GT3 standards? So if they drive much more like the current GT3s, then I'm probably not super excited for this. And that's not because the GT3 tire is inherently bad. It's the warm-up period really does my nut in. It's such a frustrating thing to drive for the first like 2 or 3 laps. After that, then, you know, once everything is sort of stable and you feel like you can kind of trust the car a little bit, then it's good. But that like warm-up period and like qualifying is like a really difficult thing for me. Like, I've always struggled with this current generation of the GT3 to feel like I know where the limit of grip is, because whenever it does sort of let go on you, it's very drastic, which I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like the rate at which the tire slips is too severe, it's too steep. And that's from either axle. It's not just when the car spins, it's, you know, understeer as well, like on colder tires. It's very dramatic, I feel. So hopefully there's a little bit of a wider window there. But yeah, I'll definitely give them a try and a quick spin just to see how it feels. But again, with GT3s being in IMSA, and therefore you've got more options on the GT3 side, do I expect too many people to swing across the GT? I don't know. Probably not, but if they drive really well, then maybe you'll see me driving in them in the near future. They've also sort of balanced the class out. So optimized gear ratios, and they analyzed tire force and aero stability across a full frequency sweep, whatever exactly that means. Resulting iRacing setups now feature a sweet spot damper range noted in the garage. So that's actually something brand new. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, because damping or adjusting dampers in iRacing, particularly I guess on the roadside, at least is what I do know, is a little bit of a, you know, dark magic almost. Certain ranges or certain values will just work better than others, but you know, you can fire your data into, you know, Motec or whatever, whatever your platform of choice is. I guess the Cosworth Pi thing, if we want to stay truly on brand with the iRacing stuff, and, you know, take a look at your histograms, whatever, make it look perfect and beautiful and balanced, and yeah, this looks spot on. And then that versus what is the absolute fastest, where it could look completely broken, could be like 2/10. So yeah, be interesting to see whether the sweet spot damper ranges are actually the fastest way to go. Remains to be seen. They've also got the quality of life updates in the garage, so we've got new tool tips, cleaner layout, and the simplified height adjustments in terms of your ride height, so we're not tinkering with spring perches or torsion bars anymore, so that's good. IMSA Vintage. This is one that's sort of close to my heart. I haven't got racing these in a really long time, but I do love the cars, the GTO and the Nissan GTP. So we've got wet tires available for that, which is good. updates to the aero for both cars. Audi's high downforce package and the Nissan's low downforce package. The Nissan's actually got a much bigger overhaul in terms of suspension, aero, and then turbo boost as well. So it's going to make the car a lot slower. So at the time of recording, this is the Friday before the end of the season. So this weekend is going to be the very last of the Nissan being as quick as it is. So I suppose get your last race in ASAP. And they've improved the Audi gearbox in terms of shifting reliability, which is, I think, the biggest stumbling block to that car, and why more people will run the Nissan than they do the Audi. The Audi's probably the more palatable car to drive, taking away sort of that shifting reliability, but you get the amount of times that I've driven that car and not got it to stay or drop into the gear that I want to is somewhat frustrating. So yeah, requiring now the clutch on upshift, because that's now going to be the quickest way to go apparently, and that reflects the authentic behavior of the synchro mesh gearbox that it has. So that's good. Lotus 49, car that I truly adore. Love this thing. Again, would love to be able to race it more. So they've improved the tires so they can handle wet conditions, so we'll get wet Lotus 49 races. That'll be fun. How fun, who knows. Hopefully not heavy rain, because iRacing's heavy rain's far too heavy, I think, to actually race in. But back in the day, in the late 60s, they raced in everything. So yeah, hopefully the car can sort of hold up to it. Suspension overhaul, again, on that one, and authentic braking. So hopefully that doesn't dilute the sort of fun element of this car. It is such a hoot to drive. It's probably still, for me, inside top 3 of my favorite cars to drive on iRacing whenever I get a chance to actually, get it out for a spin. There is an update to the tires, but hopefully it doesn't mean that the car can't sort of slide around as much as what it currently does without punishing you too much. But yeah, there's a positive update, probably. Again, I'll probably try and find some time in the early part of next season to give it a quick spin and see how it feels. Moving on now, so we got the NASCAR updates physics-wise. So there's some engine power and aerodynamic attributes. Small adjustments there, I assume, compared to last year. And then the O'Reilly car, which is the Xfinity car, or the B car, whatever way you want to sort of spin it. O'Reilly, I guess, is the newer sponsor for the last couple of years. So a different aero drafting model. So better side drafting and more complex variability in terms of under and oversteer handling when in close proximity to other cars. So probably a better feel of getting aero loose if someone's tucked up right behind you, and then the dirty air onto your nose if you're behind someone, and the understeer that's likely to generate. IR18, so the oval packages have been updated slightly. Aero and tire construction has been updated. I'll probably actually need to speak to some of the guys who run that car regularly to sort of say how it is currently versus then what it's going to be like for next season. But yeah, an increase in top speed will probably mean that you need to be a little bit more cautious then through the corners. I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. Oval refresh. This one's actually really interesting, personally for me, actually, because I wanted to do a video on how the track state is weird in iRacing, at least from the road side, where the more rubber you put down, it doesn't actually do what it logically does in real life. So how they deal with rubber buildup on the oval side will then naturally transition over onto the road side, I'm pretty sure. So iRacing's always had this struggle, or not always, but for as long as I can really remember, a struggle to have authentic multi-groove racing. And part of it's rubber related and part of it's track temperature related, and how heat sort of gets baked into the track. So they have a partial rollout here for next season, and they'll continue to roll out improvements. I'm going to keep a bit of a close eye on that and see how that actually plays out. Not necessarily doing like tons of oval races, because I don't have the backlog of knowledge right now, because I've not done much oval stuff since it's been a long time from I did a lot of oval stuff. So I'm not as up to speed maybe as obviously the guys who run it sort of every day kind of a thing, but how that then might transfer back into the road side of things, I think would be quite interesting. So yeah, we'll keep a little eye on that. Alright, so into the new Sim UI. Follow the major advancements in Season 1. They're sort of keeping the ball rolling here with some HUD options for Season 2, so you can sort of save different profiles. That's probably quite neat as well if you're running different cars or different sort of classes as well, that you can just sort of load your profiles to suit you. So like if you're on the oval side of things, you'll probably want your like oil and water temp stuff up, whereas that's not so important if you're running open wheel or just any road side or road course sort of side of things. So you've got your own options there. You can sort of save what you like. That's good. I assume that those are some base profiles. Maybe they are, maybe not. But certain cars maybe with like different dash profiles, so you can see some stuff but not others, and you might want different HUDs for different scenarios. Live telemetry capability. This is quite a big one. Obviously, there's a lot of options with this from your third-party stuff. You can take your pick, really. I think almost all of them will do something now. This is the animated mock-up that they have. I probably wouldn't use this personally if that's the speed that it goes at, but if you can customize the length of time that it shows for, and then the sizing of the box as well, so that you can maybe say, okay, over the last like 15 seconds of driving, it'll have my inputs there. That might be really useful for you to then, like, down the next straight, analyze the corner that you've just driven and make sure that actually you are braking and accelerating, and your transition between throttle and brake and vice versa is how you want it to be. So that can be useful. If it's going along that quickly, probably not really that useful to me, but it's a mock-up, so we'll see what the final UI actually throws up. That might mean that we're not using as much third-party stuff, which if the in-sim stuff is better and works how we want it to, then yeah, we're going to use that. So yeah, be interested to see how that actually looks once we get a hold of it. We've got some other bits here, so there's like different widgets that we can add in for Season 2. So we've got the session widget and session rules widget as well. There's some other extra bits here that we can sort of drop in as required. So if you're doing like time trials or qualifiers in for like a series that does time trials, like that's quite nice actually having that there. It'll last a certain number of laps used. Reminder to use your tire compounds, green white checkers, jokers. Yeah, all good stuff. All happy to see that. Visual spotter. So it's a new accessibility feature designed to assist single monitor users. It's not a radar, which is what iRacing are sort of making a point out for. And some people actually are sort of clamoring for that. I feel like what we see on LMU and other sort of recent platforms where we do have the driver radar is that the racecraft is so weird. Where everyone is like millimeter perfect with their car placement. It's a little bit strange, because it's natural. Because if the radar is accurate, then yeah, you can just drive with almost this top-down view of where your car actually is. So exactly what that looks like, we'll see. But yeah, we'll have to see how that looks. Triple screen users may be absolutely in the bin after this. Who knows? Driving line, while it's not strictly a UI development, we've introduced a highly requested quality of life update for the driving line. So we'll see what that looks like. I've not seen anything here actually that indicates what that is, but maybe it's different coloring for those that are red, green, colorblind. I think I've heard something that might be what we're looking at on that one, or it's not strictly a development but a highly requested QOL update. So that's my thinking of what it is, where you can maybe adjust the coloring so that if you are red, green, colorblind, that it doesn't all just sort of look the same color. You can now toggle the driving line on and off via a bindable key press, which is nice as well. particularly for those that do like events, corporate things or whatever, and they've got iRacing there that you can sort of flick it on and off for people who want it to, rather than having to jump out of the sim and adjust and then jump back in and whatever. So yeah, handy to have that. I'll never recommend anyone actually use the driving line unless you really don't know where you're going, and just so you can actually have a fairly quick idea of what's next so you can get around the lap for the first few laps. But after that, I would always recommend turning it off. Reference/ghost car enhancements, this is something that I personally don't ever use, but yeah, might be useful, you know, if you're doing time attack stuff, or if you're someone who takes in reference lap files, and you're comparing against, you know, like a data pack of or something like that, or for any of yours who is faster, then yeah, you know, if you like the ghost car and feel like it's useful for you, then yeah, we can have like a custom offset now, which is actually really helpful. So you can set it as far up the road as you like, which is probably actually a good thing. It's maybe why I've never really liked it before, where it's maybe too close or too far away in certain scenarios. But yeah, you'll be able to place that kind of where you want, which is a good thing. A small update that has been made to the updater that should help streamline iRacing for many. You can now update just your favorited Cars Traction series, rather than having to like manually click it. So whenever we're updating each season or every patch or whatever, if you only run certain things, then you can just update the things that you care about, which is good. So we've got the ongoing development bit, so that's stuff that doesn't look like it's actually going to pop in for the next season. So spatial reverb, which looked like it was going to be here, isn't going to quite make it. So we'll have to look, I guess, towards next season for that one. Dirt AI is in the works. Career mode is in the works still. Physics development, this is one I actually care at all about. So long-term vision, next-gen tire models, so they're always sort of trying to evolve and improve the tire model. Whether they actually always do improve it or not, it sort of remains to be seen. I do have my questions on that one. For all of its faults, I wouldn't mind the V6 tire model all over again. And start back there once again. Enhanced force feedback, so yes, iRacing's force feedback is good, but there are others that, for some people, will say that, you know, they've got a better force feedback option. So maybe R Factor or ACC or LMU. You know, you can argue that they're better. I'm not going to tell you that they're not. But aiming for even greater tactile detail and fidelity. I don't think that this is necessarily the big issue. The force feedback is actually the physics rate. Slightly underneath here, increasing the frequency of our internal calculations for even more precise vehicle dynamics. That, I think, would then tie more into that, and then we can actually feel what's going on just that little bit better, which would be great. Advanced air modeling, so pushing the boundaries of how air interacts with the chassis. I'll know that this is going really well when, if you're doing Indy 500 qualifying, that you have to bring the car across into the middle of the road. Like you have to do in real life, because at the minute you can just keep it pinned to the wall on the right and it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. So that, I think, you know, mentally for me, that's the first thing I thought of when I seen that. And then multi-threaded architecture, so more performant core architecture, improving stability and creating room for advancement. Great, we're all for that. So that's the long-term goals. The immediate stuff that they're trying to work on, which the implication is not ready for this season, but it's what they're looking at. It's all tire related. So tire bounce, asperity pressure, which my understanding of it is how the tire sort of behaves when it's not in like a steady state. So when it's going over, you know, curbs and bumps and crevices and nooks and crannies and whatever, just how the tire responds to change, I guess. And then surface temperature sensitivity. All of these things I would say need improvement. I'm less sure about the asymmetric asperity pressure. I'm not an engineer, so forgive me on that one. But the tire bounce definitely sounds like a Porsche Cup thing, which is the issue with that car's front end bouncing. And I have first-hand experience of that because this week at Adelaide, so last week of the season, so week 12, the one race that I've done this week, and I can't stream at the minute because my I'm running a backup GPU and it's not powerful enough to stream at the same time as racing. Stacked it halfway through the race because I caught the curb a little bit weird, nosed up in the air, and naturally I steered to the right because the car was pointing more to the left than what it should have been. I landed and the car basically just crumbled within itself and put it firmly into the wall, and that was 140 iRacing gone. So yeah, a little bit frustrated at that the car on a second bounce just took off. So hopefully they can address that without breaking how good the car drives outside of that. That would be really, really nice. Tire surface temperature sensitivity. So again, this I feel like goes back to what I said about the GT3s and where the GTE is sort of coming into sort of its new generation here, where everything sort of stacks up. Not where everything stacks up. Gosh, what am I saying? Sort of like your sensitivity, I guess, with like coming out of the pits and when the tires sort of rapidly changing from cold to warm. What sort of differences that we have there. So if you have a small slide because you're starting at a colder surface temp, because the core temp is lower, if it spikes too aggressively, then the tire just cannot handle it. What I'm looking for out of this is a wider operating range for the tire. It's less sensitive. Obviously, sensitivity is the word that they've used there. That they're working on it. I'd love to see it for next season, but I doubt we're going to get it. So it'll be another 12 weeks of pain, I guess, when it comes to the GT3 stuff. At least for me. Some people probably they have a good feel for it and they quite like it, but I've not responded well to the GT3 tire, or basically any scenario where you're either coming out of the pits or first lap or two of the race and you have a moment. It's very, very difficult to keep the car in check. Last couple of things then. So the Sim UI, so they're making improvements on that. What I don't like is all the menuing. So you're just scrolling constantly just to find what you're looking for, to the point where I actually am using the search feature, just so I don't have to scroll so endlessly. So yeah, hopefully they can make improvements on that. In terms of ease of use, the old UI is better. It just is. Visually, I like the look of the new UI, but in terms of finding things to change or adjust or tinker with, the old one just for me was better. So hopefully that's something that they're going to work hard towards. And then the last sort of main thing that we've got here is the new graphics engine, which they're calling Spark. So they're working on their sort of like big milestones. Night lighting is the next thing. So yeah, that'll hopefully trend itself in a direction where they can sort of work to have this sort of release by the sounds of it next year. That'll be good, and hopefully it's effective and efficient. I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to run iRacing at quite a high frame rate once again, if possible. What I don't want to see is that they'll make this thing look super pretty and it runs at half the FPS of what it currently does, because that won't be particularly pleasant. They've got miscellaneous updates. They're there. Reference lap system's going to improve. Going to focus on preparing iRacers for racing via new tools with help to help with coaching and racecraft, which is quite interesting actually. That's a little sly one, so we'll see how far into the like AI realm that they go with that. Yeah, be interesting to see how that one shakes up, or how that one shakes out. The commercial racing product's been built from scratch. For those that have that, I know whenever I worked at Apex, that we had commercial licenses there for the rig hires that we do, or we're out at events and things like that. So yeah, an update on that I think was probably badly needed. I don't think that had been updated significantly for a very long period of time, and some stuff wasn't working whenever I was last there, so that's good to see. iRacing Arcade has been released, and that actually looks really good fun, so you know, maybe I'll get trying that at some point. Scan teams are busy, so that's good that we're getting, you know, hopefully new tracks and new cars soon. Scan does also mean cars, not just the tracks. Summit Point refresh is coming, not this upcoming season, but the next one. Again, that's another old tired track that's been there for a very long time, so it'd be good to see that updated. Naval Base Coronado track, so that's new to the NASCAR schedule for this upcoming season. They're tentatively targeting a June release, which makes sense because the race itself is in June, so they'll really want to get it out for then. Visual effects improvements are on the way, so yeah, plenty sort of happening. It's probably not the update that a lot of people want, but I think there's enough good things in there that sort of sets us up for another big sort of leg up later in the year. They're not always gonna like absolutely like hammer us with like new content as such each season, but if they keep improving what they've got, then that's certainly not a bad thing. Thanks for watching. It's been fun to sort of take a little look at what iRacing are getting up to. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, share with whoever you think would be interested in my views on this sort of thing. Let me know what your views are as well. What are you most excited for? What are you interested to see iRacing do? What are you not interested to see iRacing do? And what do you think that they're sort of wasting their time on? Let me know. I'm all ears when it comes to this upcoming update. But that's all from me for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.